Most people play City Skylines 2 to simulate, or at least approximate, the development of a functioning, realistic city. In this video, I will not be doing that. Although we all know this sequel to City Skylines 1 is praised for its realistic and transparent simulation that has no bugs whatsoever, today, I'm going to be pushing it to the limit. To test the limits of the simulation in City Skylines 2, I'm building a city with no taxes to see if I can. So let's do it. Let's call it No Taxville. And let's do Great Highlands, a map that will make our low taxes seem even lower. And boom, city is open for business. So I immediately hit my first roadblock. As much as I wanted to immediately set tax to 0, that was completely blocked off at threshold 0, founding. So fine, fair enough. I decided to lay out a little infrastructure first to boost myself to level 2. Alright, tiny village at last. And without any people too. Just some roads, pipes, and a dream. A dream in which you don't have to pretend you know what a W-2 or a 1099 is. One more TurboTax is out of business. Fuck you, TurboTax. I know you lobbied the government to make taxes more difficult. I hate you. Anyways, now that I'm at Tiny Village, I can finally... What? Oh, brother. And after placing even more roads, and a power supply, and a clinic, and a cemetery, I was finally at level 2, Small Village. So, it was finally time to make things right. This would be the greatest city known to man, all with this one simple trick. Now that all taxes were set to 0, it was time to zone. Commercial, residential, industrial. No Taxville was gonna have it all, on top of having to pay nothing. As for how I was going to afford it, that was to be determined. With some of our first residents and businesses finally here, I was happy to see that people could be satisfied with a life in which they paid nothing and got nothing in return. Except they weren't. I decided to allow my greedy citizens in elementary school so they could at least learn how good of a situation they were in. But then I turned off the school because, well, I couldn't afford to keep it open. A common theme in this video. But hey, at least the school was there so the kids could pretend to learn. And then I plopped a high school and also turned that one off. School's out early, kids. You're welcome. Then after those investments and a bit of waiting for more residents to welcome, we had finally hit Large Village! And with my new large village, I decided to zone more housing. Which in hindsight, definitely wouldn't help if none of them were paying taxes. But I did it anyway because, growth is good. A new thing I was able to do was add service costs to water and electricity. Technically not taxes, so it was well within my rights to charge obscene amounts for the little water and power we did provide. And this was great because we were almost profiting off of this, but apparently people were not happy with paying thousands of dollars a month for one windmill. So I thought I would turn around and give them what they really wanted. A chicken farm! Look at all those happy little birds! After letting the simulation run for a bit, I noticed something interesting. I was gaining money! Yahoo! Yeah! Was it from water and electricity fees? No. Was it from industrial exports? Also no. Was it from charitable donations of the people of No Taxville? Well, certainly not. It was garbage. Somehow, we were turning people's waste into liquid gold. At least a little bit. Then an invisible tornado came and destroyed everything. To make people feel better about the whole ordeal, I made taxis more expensive to get them to forget about the whole thing. Our taxes were so low that we even unlocked the Rock Musician Mansion, so now someone could sing about the devastating natural disaster. And with that, we had reached Tiny Town, which unlocked carrots. Hey, but that wasn't all. We had also unlocked rock, but dark mode. And then it was at this moment I came up with the perfect get-rich-quick scheme. For my citizens? No. But for me? Well, also no, actually. But at first it seemed like maybe yes. I decided to invest in the city's future with a train station. One that would be the pinnacle of transport for getting in and out of town. It was such a big development that I created a new town around the station. And didn't connect it to main town by road to truly incentivize rail use. And then, right when everyone wanted to move into this new village, I swept the proverbial rug from under them and made train tickets $50. But I would not stop there. I also made a bus line, out of the kindness of my heart, which I then made $50 also, and made all entrances to the city bus lane only. With my new no-tax city finally in order, I decided to let the simulation run for a bit and wait for the money to roll in. Surely if people could literally only get in through train or bus, I would be getting a lot of money, right? Well, no. But thankfully we hit Boomtown, so it didn't matter. We were once again swimming in money. For now, however, like the sands of time, the money kept slipping eternally through the cracks. So I had to find a new, more uniquely pervasive and despicable way of monetizing life in this city. That's when I found a lifeline.
Street parking.
Like the good mayor I was, I set street parking to the reasonable price of
$50.
Now to get anywhere, train, bus, car, you had to pay at least $50. Have to go to work? Good luck getting there without a sidewalk. Even after all that though, I was still bleeding money. Something had to be done. I created more farms, more mines, somehow hoping that even if I didn't tax these businesses, that the money would somehow end up back in my pockets. But it never did. Even after creating Trash City to somehow get even more money out of the little we earned from waste services, it was all still too much. Until it wasn't! I quickly went to the economy tab to see that somehow I had a wombo combo of roads, garbage, and transport fees all carrying the budget. I couldn't believe my eyes. I was so thrilled by this that I decided to go even further. If this amount of garbage management paid the bills, what would happen if I made even more landfills? So Garbage City became Garbage Metropolis. But somehow, despite my gargantuan fleet of garbage trucks, I seemed to be making even less money with each new landfill. I decided to wait and thought maybe the economy needed time to adjust and realize how good of a job I did. But the money never came. In fact, the city went bankrupt. So not only did I make maybe the most polluted city in the world, but I also made one that had no money. Damn. Undeterred, I tried again to make a tax-free paradise. New No Taxville, it would be called. And this time, things would be different. Except it wasn't. Well, actually, then for a second, no, never mind, sorry. Wait a minute, it's actually starting to look like it's starting to come back. Oh, we lost it again. Wait a minute, it's starting to come back, and we're getting money again. Just hold on a second, and we're losing it. Wait a minute. For a while, the economy played some serious mind games with me, but then eventually, the upward and downward flow of money eventually just became, downward. And so at a certain point, I was losing so much money that I decided to lose it even faster by paying people to move in. The whole time I thought at some point I would surely receive some kind of government bailout, but how much debt did I have to rack up to get it was the question. $1 million? $2 million? $10 million? $100 million? The bailout never came, but also strangely, no repercussions came either. You would think a city $100 million in debt wouldn't be allowed to pay people to come in anymore. But no! And people came! They were happier than ever too, with every service being paid for by 150%. While I was trying to see how far I could go before I hit this game's arbitrary rock bottom, I kept hitting those pesky milestones from continued population growth from so much happiness. Each time it would give me not enough money to get out of debt, but enough to slow down my prospects of racking up the most possible debt. The only free thing in this game is zoning, so zone I did, and the people streamed in. The only limit was my own imagination, and also the amount of roads I'd built before I was in debt. But even that didn't stop me, as I found out if a highway was wide enough, you can actually upgrade it to a dirt road for no money, and I used it to zone even more housing. Granted, this made it not a very good highway, nor a really good neighborhood either, but at this point, I was so mentally checked out that I didn't care. Sure, we weren't making any money, and sure, future expansion wasn't possible, but the people were still coming, and they were happy. They were creaming their jeans. They were... When I finally reached the milestone of small city, Nuno Taxville had accumulated $108 million worth of debt, and I figured I was content with stopping there. After all, we had reached 28,000 people, surpassing the population of Timmins, Canada. Sure, I hadn't made a profitable city, but I made a happy city. And at the end of the day, isn't that the most important thing? No. So I tried again. This time was actually going to be different. Starting with the bones of New Notaxville, because Lord knows I wasn't going to do all that again, I created Notaxville Car City. Car City? Car City. As the name would imply, I was going to completely forget about transit. Trains? Gone. Buses? No more. Trams? I don't even know what that is. This would be a car city through and through. I was going all in this time on parking fees, and all out on any non-essential services. I threw out any conception I had of what a good city was like, because unfortunately, that was not what we were building. We were building an American one. I demolished all public transit infrastructure and allowed people to enter work and shopping areas only through freeways. This would, after all, ensure that those $50 road parking fees would finally be used. At least, for cars that couldn't park in those pesky driveways. I noticed though, that even without a sidewalk, people were walking on the side of the highway. No matter, I thought when I terraformed a massive mountain and moat for the highway to cross, but the people were undeterred. So I created what you would call an abomination. I like to think of it as more Fibonacci-esque. And in a moment of sheer devastation to the commuters who had already trekked through the tunnel and bridge, they quickly turned around when they saw the spiral of doom laying ahead of them. We had finally found the pedestrian's weakness. So, I did it again, at the shopping center. 15-minute city activists would cry when they see the sheer levels of freedom the citizens have here. Then I realized I was pulling my punches. I was holding myself back. If I really wanted to go car forward, I had to make pedestrian life, even in the residential quarter, as miserable as possible. So I decided to install the widest boulevards offered in City Skylines 2, the 8-lane avenue. It was a real toss-up between that and the 7-lane avenue, which didn't have a divider, but I thought the extra lane would come in handy just in case. The people loved it. And then I thought, wait, I haven't even unleashed the city's full potential yet, and decided to place an extra 8-laner above the original just to be sure. Then I put another one on top just to allow for easy interchanges. But then I realized that although this would certainly cause psychic damage on any pedestrian who so much as saw this monstrosity in their periphery, it would likely cost too much to upkeep, so it was sadly demolished. Despite all this though, we were making money! It made my American heart happy to see we were finally profiting off of the suffering of others. We weren't making a lot, but we were definitively, and permanently this time, in the green. And the people were neutral about the whole ordeal. Great! This newfound profit ushered in a golden age for no-taxville Car City? An age of zoning more residential, then zoning more industrial, then more commercial, over and over and over again. It was beautiful. When we had finally reached the milestone of Great Town, still being in the green, and garnered the full support of the people, I decided no-taxville Car City could definitively be called a success. Yippee! Was it a nice city to live in? Well, depends on your definition. Was it a carbon neutral city? Also depends on your definition. But was it an American one? I would argue, yes. In this city, you have the freedom to get in your car and go anywhere you want. Just make sure you have a 50 on you, that's all. And maybe another one on the way back. We supported small business. Industry was perpetually on the rise. We gave them life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. And most importantly, at no point did the government ever overreach in any capacity. And in the end, isn't that all we could have asked for? Thanks for joining me. And I'll see you next time where I create a dystopian European city.